What's going on, everybody, and welcome back to Comic Breakdown. In this video, we are jumping into Marauders issue number 8. Now that Judgment Day is out of the way, we are back to focusing on the first generation of mutant kind, the ones known as Threshold. But there is so much more that we also learned. We learned that the first generation of mutants, they were taken out by their own creation. That, of course, is none other than Archaea and Sublime, the bacterial creation that became self-aware. That is what is responsible for the death of the first generation. Having the 3 members of Threshold here in present time, the Marauders now have a decision to make. Do we go back in time? Do we try to save an entire civilization? And if they decide to do so, what ramifications will that have not only in their present, but in the future? Make sure you guys are subscribed to the channel. Make sure you like this video, and with that being said, let's dive into this breakdown. Alright guys, so as we dive into this issue, we are picking up on Threshold 2 billion years ago, when the sibling bacteria was in full effect, taking out every single line of defense. We learned that there was a defector, there was a traitor to the people, an individual going by the name of Nightfont. This is who led the Unbreathing, the enemies of Threshold. He led them into battle, trying to reignite what they called the Oxygen Wars, fearing that this may be the end of everything. That is when they put into effect their bacterial weapon, except it didn't have the effects that they thought it would. It attacked anybody and everybody, turning against one another. The sibling bacteria hated each other, hated what they were, hated what they had become. This is when Thea, Amass, and Crave got sent into the time capsule, waiting for a future where mutant kind may have survived. And that's what brings us to present day. The Marauders team sitting here having a conversation, and many of the Marauders team, they are questioning the mission, because they're about to go on a mission where there are world-conquering germs. For Kate Pryde, this is an easy decision. Automatically, her answer is yes. We're gonna go into the past, we're gonna save Threshold. But the other members of the team, they are not so sure about this, feeling as if almost they are being thrown to the wolves. That this idea of going back 2 billion years, it shouldn't be a split-second decision. And Pryde lets them know that this is what we do. This is the point of the Marauders. We do not answer to Krakoa, we do not answer to anybody. We are here to save mutants, which means if there is an entire society of mutants that are about ready to be taken out 2 billion years in the past, she feels obligated to go back and at least try to save some of them. One of the bigger questions, if we save Threshold, what does that mean to our present day? Does that erase Krakoa completely? Would it overwrite our own histories? Would we exist if we did this? But Kate Pryde is fairly confident that saving these Threshold members, it doesn't necessarily have to bring an end to Krakoa, that it doesn't have to undo the present day. But the decision has been made. They are going to plan, they are going to take the precautions, and then they are going back 2 billion years. In the meantime, our new Threshold members, they are enjoying Krakoan life. Crave not eating for all of this time, at least not real substance food. He is gorging himself on everything that Grey Crow has to offer to him. From the food to the plates to a freaking handgun. Crave is devouring everything, while he munches down, almost eating the bar itself. We pick up with Cassandra Nova and Amass. And Amass is a little bit disappointed. At one point in time, Threshold was the size of a continent, and now mutant kind, they only have an island. She really believed that they would have come much farther in 2 billion years, even if society had to restart. And she reminisces about the past, saying that back then they treated her almost as if she was a thief, with a mutant ability to merge together with other mutants. Many of them didn't see this as a great gift or ability. ability. They saw her nothing more than a body snatcher. And she even goes on to say that if she really tried, she could probably merge with Krakoa itself. And she does say that there is something very familiar about it. And we have learned recently that Krakoa, it was one of the first beings that the Celestials had found on Earth. In fact, when the Celestials made landfall on Earth, they found Krakoa there, a system going through the entire planet, and they molded the machine specifically off of this. In a roundabout way, Krakoa the island, it is the predecessor to what the machine is today, and that is what takes us over to Thea and Tempo, the two of them discussing the new life that they have, as Thea sits on the shoreline, reminiscing about the past, thinking about how Threshold members, they very much were not fans of the water. The unbreathing came from the water, which made it very, very dangerous. But Tempo does let her know that us going into the past, this is very much a leap of faith. Even using boost fruit, even Amass joining everybody together. The fact of the matter, jumping back 2 billion years, this is no easy task. And that's where we jump over to the White Palace. Jumbo has created something very unique for them. He has created a bunch of brooches that they can put on their uniform. They are very intuitive and self-healing. In theory, these things are supposed to protect them from any kind of virus or germ. And so with having a defense against the sibling bacteria, they head over to Cotterman's Creek, finding the location of where Threshold was most likely at. Most of it had fallen into the water at this point, but there are some areas on a map where there is land, and that is where Threshold may have been 2 billion years ago. With everybody grabbing hold of Amass, we see them all form together, everybody checking in, from chronokinetics all the way down to Somnus and his hypersleep. With a giant flash of light, we see the Marauders teleport themselves 2 billion years into the past. That is when we land in Threshold Century Town 87. And Century Towns, these are more or less beachheads really made for the unbreathing, a line of defense from the ocean to land. These small pockets of resistance are really what remains of Threshold, because with the sibling bacteria making its way across the land, those with the mutant abilities or Threshold abilities really able to hold off the bacteria, they have survived, but they are also facing off against other mutants that have been infected by the bacteria. And so when we land in Century Town 87, the war between the siblings, it has already begun. It is well underway. This is when Thea lets everybody know that they came back at the wrong time. They did not go far enough back. The sibling bacteria is already taking everything over. But Tempo, she really can't pinpoint an exact moment, especially jumping back 2 billion years. She could eat all the boost fruit she wants, but jumping that amount of time, it's never gonna be an exact science. This is when the Marauders deploy. Amass letting everybody go, the Marauders jump into action, doing everything they can to hold off these forces. Cassandra Nova getting grabbed by the neck, this immediately makes her think about her brother. In that instant, she turns on the mutant that is currently being possessed by the bacteria, and she rips him apart. And that is when the bacteria comes for Fang, believing that these brooches would be able to stop the bacteria. It was created to evolve. It was created to really destroy any immunity, any system that was made to fight it off. It evolves so quickly that we see it go into Fang, his healing ability unable to fight it off. This is when the Marauders recognize that if Fang's healing ability cannot fight off this bacteria, do they really have any chance of winning this fight? With Fang completely taken over, the sibling bacteria known as Sublime has taken control. And that will be the end of this issue. So let me know what you guys think down in the comments. You know, I have been a big fan of the Marauders so far. I really love the fact that this has nothing to really do with Krakoa. Now, Krakoa gives them the ability to do what they are doing, but the fact of the matter is this is taking place usually on some other island, some other nation. Now we're jumping 2 billion years into the past to the first generation of mutants. And I know a lot of people, they don't really know how to feel about the idea that there were mutants mutants 2 billion years ago. How does this fit in? Was humanity the evolution for it? But what we saw is that they really climbed out of some kind of birthing pool, and that is yet to be fully fleshed out. We don't really understand that whole concept just yet, but I really have enjoyed the idea that 2 billion years ago, there was an entire society of not only mutants, but also humans, full of culture, absolutely thriving, and their own hubris is what was their destruction, much like what X-Men and mutant kind on Krakoa are currently going through. But I'm really excited to explore Threshold to see what mutants existed 2 billion years ago, and if it's gonna be possible to save any of them. If it is so, I would love to see them go to Morocco, where we can actually explore more of the Iraqi people. But let me know what you think. Let me know your thoughts. Let me know your theories. If you would like to get caught up on everything going on with this series, be sure to check out the link in my description as well as the top of this video. It is gonna get you completely caught up on everything going on with the Marauders. If you would like to support the channel, you can always do so by joining the channel membership, much like Patreon, having 5 different tiers from $1 to $50, from loyalty badges to getting free comics every single month. Not only is this helping out the channel tremendously, you are getting tons of perks in the process. Now, if you are unable to do this, do me a favor, hit that sub button, hit that notification bell, make sure you're not missing any of the awesome content that we have coming out, and with that being said, until the next breakdown.